Martin Luther King 20 minutes ago died.
If you've ever attended a funeral, you've probably noticed that some families choose to have an open casket, while others prefer to keep it closed. For some, seeing their loved one last time brings a sense of closure, allowing them to say their final goodbyes face to face. But for others, the thought of it feels too unsettling, so they choose a more private farewell. When it comes to celebrities, their final moments often remain in the spotlight, even after death. In this video, we're looking at 15 famous people who had open casket funerals, giving the world one last glimpse before they were laid to rest. Number 15. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was a celebrated martial artist and actor who inspired millions with his talent and strength. Known for his breathtaking moves and powerful presence on screen, he captured the hearts of fans worldwide. In 1973, after finishing his final film, Enter the Dragon, in Hong Kong, Lee suffered from cerebral edema, a sudden and severe swelling of the brain. This tragic condition took his life, leaving his family, friends, and fans in deep sorrow. Before being flown back to Seattle for burial, a public mourning was held to honor his memory. An open casket funeral allowed everyone to see his calm and peaceful face one last time. The casket, adorned with soft lights and gentle decorations, was a silent tribute to his brilliant life. Linda, his loving wife, arrived with their children, all dressed in simple white robes of mourning. They walked slowly by the casket, their hearts heavy with loss and gratitude for the moments they had shared. Above a portrait of Lee hung a banner in Chinese that read, "A star sinks in a sea of art." Around the coffin, nearly 20,000 fans, relatives, and close friends gathered to pay their respects. Each person bowed their head, and many left small tokens of love at the scene. Even fellow actors and teachers, who once learned from his skill, came forward with tearful goodbyes. Despite the public controversies and rumors about his death, his family believed his passing was natural. They wished to remember him for his genius, his art, and the magic he brought to every life he touched. His farewell in the open casket allowed the world to say a final goodbye, keeping his spirit alive in every heart. In that quiet moment, each tear and whisper spoke of love that would never fade. Number 14. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a brave leader who fought for equal rights and justice for all people. He used his powerful words and peaceful actions to change the world. His voice brought hope, and his dream of freedom touched millions of hearts.
And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true.
He was a symbol of love and unity. After his tragic assassination, his body was placed in an open casket in Atlanta on April 9th. The loss of his light left a deep, painful wound in the nation. At the open casket, over 1,000 mourners, including children, gathered to pay their respects. They came to see his gentle face and to share in the sadness of his loss.
Hundreds paid their respects during that brief hour. They were old, they were dressed for work, they were middle-aged.
The wound in his neck was still visible, a stark reminder of the violence that ended his life. Many mourners kissed his face, trying to hold on to his spirit, as soft tears fell on their cheeks. The room was filled with a gentle light and a calm hush. Each mourner's quiet prayer and every soft embrace showed their love for the great leader. Despite the pain and loss, the open casket brought comfort. It allowed people to say goodbye and to remember his smile, his kind eyes, and his powerful speeches. Mourners left flowers and small notes, each a token of gratitude for his life and the change he brought. Though his death was marked by sorrow and shock, his family held on to the hope he had spread. They believed his dream of a better world would continue to guide every heart. In that sacred moment, each tear and quiet whisper shared the promise that his light would shine on forever. Number 13. James Brown. James Brown was a legendary singer and performer known as the Godfather of Soul. His music made people dance and feel deep joy. Throughout his long career, he brought a special energy to every stage, changing the way people enjoyed music. On December 25, 2006, after a life filled with rhythm and heart, James Brown passed away due to health problems related to his heart and lungs.
He sighed very, very quietly and very gently. Then he closed his eyes.
His death left fans and friends mourning the loss of a true musical genius. At his funeral, a magnificent and unique open casket was displayed. The coffin was made of 24-karat gold, shining brightly under the soft light. It looked almost like a treasure, a symbol of the life he lived with passion and flair. Thousands of people gathered to pay their respects. Among them was the famous Michael Jackson, who joined many other stars in honoring the man who had changed the world of music. The room was quiet yet full of emotion, as people came close to say their final goodbyes. The soft glow of the lights highlighted his peaceful face, and the gentle sparkle of the gold echoed the vibrant beats of his songs. Family, friends, and fans each left their own marks of love. Some placed flowers, while others whispered heartfelt words near the open casket. Everyone felt the deep loss of a man who had given so much joy to the world.
It's the half beat that we got rap from. It's the half beat that we got hip hop from.
His life was a powerful beat that still echoes in the hearts of all who loved him. His legacy lives on in every note played and every heart that still beats to the rhythm of his timeless songs. Every farewell echoed hope and celebrated his life. Number 12. Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly was a famous film star who became a princess. She lit up the screen with her charm and later brought grace and style to Monaco as Princess Grace. Her movies filled hearts with joy, and her life showed the beauty of art and royalty. One day, while driving along the winding roads of Monaco, Grace suffered a sudden cerebral hemorrhage. A hidden stroke made it impossible for her to steer her car safely, and her life ended in a tragic crash. The news spread fast around the world, even before the age of X or the internet, and people everywhere felt deep shock and sadness.
Grace Kelly died today at age 52. The cause, injuries resulting from her car accident yesterday.
At her funeral, her open casket told a story of calm and beauty amid loss. The casket was draped in a soft white banner bearing the arms of the Grimaldi family. In a moving procession, 20 gentlemen dressed in white robes with black capes edged in red carried her coffin slowly along a 600-yard path to the St. Nicholas Cathedral in Monaco. Her peaceful face, framed by delicate features, seemed to smile softly as if she were simply resting. Celebrities, royalty, and countless admirers came to say goodbye.
The princess was then driven the short journey to Monaco to join the other mourners.
The quiet, somber atmosphere spoke of a life filled with love, art, and gentle dignity. Even in that final moment, Grace Kelly shone with the timeless grace that had made her a beloved star, leaving a legacy that continues to touch hearts all over the world. Number 11. Hank Williams. Hank Williams was a great country singer whose simple words and soulful tunes told the stories of everyday life. Born in Alabama, he became one of the most loved voices of country music. His songs carried hope, heartbreak, and honesty that reached deep into people's hearts. Yet, his life ended too soon. Hank died because of a dangerous mix of alcohol and morphine that weakened his body and stole his breath away. His sudden passing left a huge void in the music world and in the hearts of his many fans.
Hank Williams' last journey began in Knoxville and ended in tragedy just up the road.
At his funeral in Montgomery, Alabama, his open casket offered a quiet, moving farewell. His peaceful face, set in gentle repose, was shown to a crowd of over 2,000 mourners. The scene was simple and humble, a plain wooden box that held a man who had sung his truth with passion. The air was filled with a soft sadness as people came forward to remember the man behind the music. Photographs taken that day captured the honest sorrow of a nation saying goodbye to a true legend. Number 10. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was a soulful singer who gave the world smooth tunes and heartfelt songs that spoke of love, pain, and hope. He touched many lives with his gentle voice and deep lyrics that still echo in the hearts of his fans. His music was like a warm hug that could soothe even the deepest sorrow. Tragically, on April 1st, 1984, his life was cut short when his father shot him, ending a brilliant career and leaving a void in the world of soul music. At his farewell, held at Forest Lawn Cemetery, Marvin's open casket showed a calm and peaceful face. The simple, dignified setting was filled with soft lights and fresh flowers, creating a quiet space for everyone to grieve and remember. Friends, fellow performers, and fans gathered to pay their respects, each silently mourning the loss of a true musical genius. The casket, though plain, became a powerful symbol of the light he had shared through his songs. In that tender moment, every soft note from his past seemed to linger in the air, reminding everyone of the beauty and pain in his art. Number 9. Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a humble nun who spent her life caring for the poor and sick. With a warm smile and a kind heart, she helped those who had no one else to turn to.
Mother Teresa was busy, as usual, saving the world, and I mean that quite literally.
Known for her gentle ways and selfless work, she became a symbol of hope and love to millions around the world. Her life was devoted to easing the suffering of others, and she touched the lives of many with simple acts of kindness. When Mother Teresa passed away, it felt like the end of a gentle era. Her death came after a long life filled with service and care.
It's here that Mother Teresa lived, prayed, and worked until she died in 1997.
In Calcutta, where she had spent many years helping the needy, her open casket was displayed with quiet dignity as her body made its way toward the Netaji Indoor Stadium. The casket was adorned with soft, fresh flowers and a humble cloth, reflecting her simple life. As it passed through the streets, people lined the way to say a final goodbye. The scene was filled with a deep, quiet sadness, yet also a warm glow of gratitude. Every face in the crowd carried memories of her endless compassion and care. The simple beauty of her open casket was a final, tender farewell to a life dedicated to giving love and hope. Number 8. Bill Robinson. Bill Robinson was a famous African-American performer known for his brilliant dancing and charming stage presence.
Bill Robinson was from Richmond, Virginia, as am I.
In the early 20th century, he broke barriers and brought joy and hope to many through his art. Bill's dance moves were full of grace and energy, and he helped open doors for future generations of performers. His work made a deep mark on the world of entertainment, and he became a symbol of courage and excellence. At the age of 71, Bill Robinson passed away due to heart failure. His death brought a wave of sorrow to fans and friends alike. The loss of such a great artist was felt far and wide, and the news touched the hearts of many. In honor of his legacy, the famous TV host Ed Sullivan arranged his funeral, ensuring that Bill would be remembered with respect and love. At his open casket service, thousands of people came to pay their final respects. The casket was simple and dignified, allowing everyone a quiet moment to say goodbye. The soft light in the room gently highlighted Bill's peaceful face, a face that once sparkled with life on stage. As people filed past, many paused to remember the joy he had spread with every graceful step. In that solemn moment, his life and achievements shone brightly in the hearts of all who attended. The open casket was not just a farewell. It was a tribute to a man who had danced his way into history and left an enduring mark on the world. Number 7. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States and a leader who steered the nation through one of its darkest times, the Civil War. Known for his wisdom, honesty, and deep care for his people, Lincoln fought to unite a divided nation and end slavery. His strong words and kind heart earned him the admiration of millions. Tragically, Lincoln was assassinated in 1865 by a man who opposed his dreams of a better, united country.
His death came less than 1 week after the Civil War ended, and Lincoln was the first president killed in office.
The shock of his sudden death swept across the nation, leaving many in deep sorrow. After his death, his body was placed in an open casket and taken on a long train journey. On April 21, 1865, the somber funeral train carrying President Abraham Lincoln departed Washington, D.C., beginning a journey to retrace the path he had traveled 4 years earlier for his first inauguration.
It left Washington on April 21, 1865, its route covering nearly 1,700 miles.
This final journey took him through 6 states: Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Indiana, culminating in Illinois, where he would be laid to rest. New Jersey was the only state where Lincoln's body was not displayed for public mourning. In every other state, however, millions of heartbroken citizens lined the tracks to bid farewell to the president who had guided them through the nation's darkest days. Lincoln's calm face, filled with quiet dignity, reflected the weight of his life's work and the sacrifice he made for his country. Crowds stood silently, many with tears in their eyes, as they looked upon his face. The gentle glow of the room and the soft murmur of grieving voices created a moment of deep reflection. In that scene, every person present felt a connection to the leader who had given so much to the nation. Number 6. Eva Peron. Eva Peron, known lovingly as Evita, was Argentina's first lady and a champion for the poor. With a kind heart and a fierce spirit, she worked hard to lift up the lives of those who had little.
I always say that Eva's blood runs in the millions of people in Argentina who love her madly.
Eva believed in justice and used her voice to speak for those who could not speak for themselves. Her life was a mix of glamour, struggle, and deep care for her people, which made her a true icon in Argentina. Eva Peron died in 1952 after a long battle with illness. Her passing was a deep loss for a nation that adored her. Soon after her death, nearly 2 million Argentinians gathered to honor her memory. The outpouring of love was strong, but her story was far from over. For almost 20 years, her body was hidden away from the public, a secret kept close by those in power. In 1974, Eva Peron's body was finally displayed in an open casket alongside Juan Peron. Though her remains rested in a modest, unadorned box, the impact of her presence was anything but small. Her legacy loomed large, stirring deep emotions among those who came to pay their respects. The open casket allowed people to see her one last time, and her calm, peaceful face spoke of a life filled with both struggle and hope. Crowds gathered in respectful silence, many with tears in their eyes, as they remembered a woman who had given so much of herself to her country. Eva Peron's legacy is one of compassion, strength, and love. Her open casket farewell was not just a goodbye, it was a heartfelt tribute to a woman whose spirit continues to inspire millions every day. Number 5. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was a world-famous singer and dancer known as the King of Pop. He brought joy to millions with his catchy songs and incredible dance moves.
But from the start, Michael stood out among the Jackson 5 with his polished vocals and dance moves.
From a very young age, he captured hearts with his talent and kind spirit. His music and performances made him a global icon, and his life was filled with dreams, hard work, and creativity. Michael died on June 25, 2009, due to a drug overdose that shocked the entire world.
Told investigators that he gave the pop star a series of drugs, starting with Valium.
When news spread of his passing, people everywhere felt a deep loss. On his funeral night, close family members gathered at Forest Lawn in the Hollywood Hills to say goodbye to him. In the open casket, Michael looked as if he were simply sleeping. His face, calm and peaceful, reminded everyone of the gentle soul behind the superstar. The open casket allowed his family and friends to see him one last time. Soft lights filled the room, making his familiar features appear warm and tender. His eyes were closed, and there was a sense of quiet rest, as if he had found a long-awaited peace after years of busy shows and endless touring. Relatives stood close, sharing whispered memories and tears. They recalled the fun times at Disneyland, his early days with the Jackson 5, and the simple moments that made him family. The scene was both sad and full of gratitude. Fresh flowers lay near the casket, their colors a gentle reminder of life even during grief. In that quiet room, every face showed a mix of sorrow and love. Even as a world-renowned entertainer, Michael remained a cherished family member whose smile had brightened many lives. His open casket was a final, heartfelt tribute, a moment for everyone present to remember his kind heart and the magic he spread with every note and dance move. Number 4. Jesse James. Jesse James was one of America's most famous outlaws from the wild days of the Old West. He became a legend through his daring robberies and adventures. People both admired and feared him for his bold acts and his quick escapes. His life was a mix of danger and excitement, and his name was spoken in hushed tones around campfires and in old saloons. In 1882, Jesse James met a tragic end when he was murdered. His death came suddenly and left a trail of rumors and mystery behind him. Some even said that his own mother charged people a small fee, a quarter, to take a pebble from his grave. Whispers went around that maybe Jesse had faked his death. These strange tales only added to the myth surrounding his life. At his open casket funeral, the mood was heavy and respectful. The simple wooden casket was lined with fresh flowers. When people saw Jesse's face, they could see the marks of a life lived on the edge. His rugged features and the scars of his many battles were clearly visible, and his closed eyes seemed to tell a story of both danger and quiet resignation. In that solemn moment, the outlaw looked as if he had finally found a kind of rest after a life filled with conflict. Family and old friends gathered in a hushed room, sharing stories of daring rides and narrow escapes. They spoke softly about his fearless days and the cost of a life so wild. Number 3. Emmett Till. Emmett Till was a young African-American boy with a bright smile and a gentle heart. At just 14 years old, he had dreams like any other child and was known for his friendly nature. His life, though short, shone with promise and hope. Tragically, Emmett's life was cut short by a brutal act of hate. He was lynched by a violent mob after being falsely accused of flirting with a white woman, a claim that was never true. Emmett's death sparked a deep sense of sorrow and outrage all over the nation. His mother, determined to show the true horror of what had happened, chose an open casket funeral. She wanted the world to see the terrible cost of racism and injustice. In the open casket, the room was filled with a deep sadness and a quiet call for change.
They said that about 1 in every 5 had to be assisted.
The young boy's face, once bright with life, bore the marks of a cruel and violent end. He was barely recognizable except for the initials on a ring he wore, a small sign of the boy he once was. Seeing Emmett in the open casket was a moment that touched every heart. The soft light in the room could not hide the harsh scars left by violence. Instead, it made the tragedy even clearer. Family members, friends, and many strangers gathered to see him one last time. Their eyes filled with tears as they looked upon his silent, broken face. In that quiet space, every heartbeat with both sorrow and the hope that his story would change the world. The open casket was not just a farewell, it was a powerful statement against the cruelty of racism. Each tear shed and every whispered memory was a plea for justice and love. Emmett Till's tragic image became a symbol, a reminder that hate can rob us of our most precious lives. Number 2. Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a great leader from South Africa who fought hard for freedom and justice. He is best known for leading the fight against apartheid, a system that kept people apart because of the color of their skin. As the first black president of his country, Mandela showed the world that one person's courage and kindness can change the face of a nation.
Was sworn in as the country's first black president.
His long struggle for equality and peace made him a symbol of hope, not just for South Africans, but for people everywhere. Even after spending many years in prison, his spirit remained strong and full of love.
In May 1994, Nelson Mandela, the man white South Africa had imprisoned for nearly 30 years.
In December 2013, after a long battle with illness, Mandela passed away. His death left a deep void in the hearts of those who admired him, and people from every corner of the world gathered to say goodbye. Leaders, dignitaries, and ordinary citizens came together, each carrying memories of his gentle smile and brave heart. At his funeral, an open casket service was held, allowing everyone a final chance to honor his life. The few photos taken of that day show his body barely visible through a clear glass lid. The soft light in the room revealed only a hint of the great man, with his features calm and peaceful. Military guards stood respectfully by the casket, ensuring that this sacred moment was kept safe and quiet. One by one, mourners walked slowly past the casket, pausing to share a silent farewell and to remember the many sacrifices he had made. The scene was both very sad and quietly beautiful. The gentle hum of whispered prayers and the soft footsteps on the floor created a feeling of calm respect. In that brief moment, each person felt a personal connection with Mandela, as if he were whispering a final message of hope and unity.
Nelson Mandela's casket, draped in the South African flag.
His open casket was not just a display of a Number 1. Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin was the first president of Russia and a man who helped guide his country through times of great change. After the fall of the Soviet Union, he became a symbol of hope as he worked to bring democracy to a nation long ruled by strict control. Yeltsin was known for his bold decisions and strong personality. He broke old traditions and opened the door to new ideas, even when the journey was hard and full of challenges. Boris Yeltsin died in April 2007 at the age of 76. His death was caused by heart failure, a sign of the toll that life's long struggles can take on even the strongest leaders. When news of his passing spread, many people felt a deep sadness. His life had been filled with both victories and setbacks, and his death marked the end of an era in Russian history. At his funeral, an open casket service was held that brought together a mix of world leaders and everyday citizens. The service took place in the gold-domed Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow, where more than 20,000 people came to pay their respects. The open casket showed Yeltsin's body in a calm, simple way. Soft lights and a hushed atmosphere filled the room as white-robed priests led the ceremony. Even former U.S. presidents and top Russian officials were there, each showing their deep respect for a man who had once steered his country toward freedom. People walked slowly by his casket, taking in the quiet scene. The gentle light, the soft murmurs of grief, and the careful watch of those guarding the casket all spoke of respect and sorrow. The open casket was a final tribute to a leader who faced great challenges and brought hope during times of change. It was a moment when personal loss met a turning point in history, a time to remember that even the toughest lives can leave a gentle, lasting mark on the world. His memory reminds us that true change is difficult, but always worth the effort. Open casket funerals give us a final, intimate look at the people who shaped our world, but they also spark deep emotions and even controversy. What are your thoughts on this tradition? Do you think it brings closure or just adds to the grief? Let us know in the comments below.